Everybody get away from the center. I'm gonna blow it up. Birth. Fourth. Run. Run.
So hey guys, it's Ziant again, and this is a little different for me. I'm starting my commentary about 20 seconds in because I wanted to show that was one of those moments where it's just like she says, or he says, if it's the boy, says, move, move, and we're just all like, what, and then pff, it comes down and we all die. Well, we didn't all die, but some of us died. And I wanted to talk today briefly, before I get into my actual topic, about things that have been brewing in the Battlefield community recently. And if you watched my last video about ghosts, and you commented that Battlefield 4 was not necessarily a complete game, then you'll know where I'm going with this. And in short, Battlefield 4 was not a complete game when released, nor will it be a complete game for at least a couple more months. Nor will it probably, actually, in all honesty, it'll probably won't be a complete game ever. But the long and the short of it is, no work of creative work today is released in a complete state. It's released when it is releasable. And of course, the argument then is was it even a shippable game? Well, maybe, maybe not. I'm not here to make that judgment. It's not a judgment any one person can make. It has to be a consensus. And I don't think that there's certainly part of a consensus, but other parts as well. And then the short version of it is that Battlefield 4 was released around 2 years after Battlefield 3, when EA thought it was best to release it, and DICE does not set the release dates of their games. EA does, because EA signs the checkbooks. However, I'm not going to spend any more time on that. I'm not going to say whether Battlefield 4 was ready, whether it's a good game, whether it's a bad game, because I personally enjoy it, but that doesn't mean you have to enjoy it. Blah, blah, all these talks about, this map, Operation Locker, I think is terrible. There are some maps that I love, like Parasail Storm. But I want to talk about something else, and it's not going to be an update video, but it's something I want to talk about. Assassin's Creed 4. And how I'm finding that for myself, at the very least, I can't find a single game that captures my attention the way games used to. And I think I've touched on this before, but again, the short version of it is there are so many options, and being a somewhat mature adult with a very long line of terrible credit, I have a lot of opportunities to play games, and so I find myself getting very bored of shooters. I find myself getting very bored of games I've been playing, to be honest with you. But Assassin's Creed 4, hopefully, this is a hope, will reignite that desire to spend 200 hours just playing a single game, diving for treasure chests, playing multiplayer when I feel like it, doing ship-on-ship battles, because Skyrim was the last game that really captured my imagination, and I didn't even really play it that much until those mods started coming out, and then the mods were the main reason I kept playing, and the reason I occasionally come back to that game. And it's a problem I think we have, is that we get these games, we buy them for $60, which is really, it may not seem like it if you're younger and your parents are buying these things for you, but, and it's still not a value I put as much weight on as I probably should. But it's one of those values, it's not a small sum of money, especially in today's economy. And when we shell out this $60 for a game that we might play for 50 hours, are we getting our money's worth? And if indeed we find ourselves playing a single-player campaign that's maybe 10 hours long, are we getting what we paid for? And in certain cases, I would say we get more than we've paid for, because we might spend $10 on a book, but we'll enjoy it for 50. Or I spent $24 on Spec Ops: The Line, and that's a game I would gladly pay $60 for now that I've played it. But I haven't played it again since I beat it the first time, and if I think I'm going to be a game scholar of any kind, I'm going to have to start doing that. But my point being is that Assassin's Creed, especially the third one I think was terribly boring. Not just the main character, not just the way it was constructed, but just generally for me, and it might just be because I've done U.S. history to death, and I have. I mean, high school was U.S. history, My education for most of my middle school was U.S. and Western European history, so I was just done with the whole genre. But pirates, oh my goodness. And the fact that it actually, oh my goodness, Assassin's Creed 4 looks good. Battlefield 4, except for this map, looks good. They're pretty, they're fun, they're interesting to look at, and I love that about games. One of the things I don't like about Ghosts, and here I am going on about Ghosts again, is that it's just really bland. Even Black Ops 2, which is a Treyarch game, and the colors were pretty washed out, still a very pretty game. Lots of color, as sort of muted as it was. And you go back to think something like Modern Warfare 2 and Battlefield 1942, and these maps, they're bright, they're colorful, there's these great greens, there's these great reds and blues, and it's just, where did this go? And you look at a game like Assassin's Creed 4, or you look at a game like Skyrim when you've modded it to hell, these games are just pretty to look at, and I'm willing to, as the joke goes, just stand around and look at the skybox when I'm in these matches, because a map like Hainan Resort, it doesn't play all that well. The evolution is interesting, but not all that revolutionary. But I would love to just sit back and let the map be. It's someplace I desire to exist in. And that's one of the things about games that I really want to get back. It's just the desire, not necessarily to play them, but just to be in the worlds in which they are. And that, I think, is where games really should succeed.